How did you use media technologies in the construction, research, planning and evaluation? I have used several different media technologies, both hardware and software, within my cross-media package throughout all stages of my planning, research, production and evaluation. Firstly, I've used a WordPress website throughout my planning, progress and evaluation, and due to its cloud-based storage blog post format, it allowed me to update my work frequently without having to worry about backing it up. It also allowed me to update my work once it was uploaded. Therefore, if I felt that any particular parts needed improvement, I was provided with this option to edit them and make them better. Not only was I allowed to view my own work, but teachers also using this website could see my progress and give me feedback on how I was doing. Another platform which I decided to use within my planning, evaluation and research was YouTube, as this allowed me to easily research on things I didn't know how to do. I was able to learn how to use a camera, how to understand lighting. I was therefore able to teach myself things that I may not have completely understood in lesson, or we may not have got to go through in as much detail. YouTube also allowed me to research into things such as genre conventions. I was easily able to Google different trailers within the supernatural genre and gain inspiration from different trailers, identify iconography in them and different things in them that I may have wanted to include in my own trailer. So although WordPress didn't allow me to directly upload a video onto the blog, I easily overcame this by posting a video on YouTube, waiting for it to upload, copying the URL and simply pasting it into a new post on WordPress. I also used the site Prezi, which was a website that allowed me to creatively display and present my data to teachers and fellow students, and it was much more appealing than writing down information in a Word document. It also allowed me to experiment with different ideas regarding the type of genre I wanted to do within horror for my final cross-media package. One of the main softwares I used throughout the production of my trailer was Final Cut, a non-linear video editing application, which I used on my MacBook Air from home. This software has provided me with a variety of transitions which I was able to incorporate into my own trailer simply by dragging my desired transition onto the clip that I wanted to seamlessly blend into the next. This allowed me to create a flowing trailer. I often use the fade to colour transition or cross dissolve transition at moments in my play where I wanted the pace to be quite slow. In terms of the effects I used within my trailer, I used a variety of effects that were provided by Final Cut Pro, such as the colour correction effect, which I simply dragged onto a clip that I wanted to correct the colour of, and this opened up a colour spectrum in which I was able to adjust the actual colour of the clip, the saturation and exposure. I often used the blade tool to chop off parts of the clip that I didn't want to be seen in my trailer. I also did this as a way to single out significant parts of that clip and add special effects onto only those parts. So for example, in this clip, I am cutting up a piece of footage, and on particular parts that I've cut up, I am speeding it up. I am doing this so that the parts that have been sped up of the clip give the impression that a ghost or spirit is actually doing this rather than a human. Another effect that I used quite a lot throughout my trailer is the cold steel effect. I simply added this just by clicking on to that effect, dragging it over the clip or clips that I wanted it to alter, and then if I needed to, I would just adjust the opacity of the effect. So this is just another example of where I used the cold steel effect on a piece of footage to give the idea that it's more spooky and ghostly. Another website I found extremely helpful throughout my production stages was the online video converter. This website allowed me to convert sounds or effects I'd found on YouTube to an MP3 format so that I could incorporate them into my trailer. I simply did this by copying a URL for a specific sound that I wanted, going to the online video converter website, pasting in the URL and then pressing convert, and then it would become a download which would then go straight to my iTunes, making it easily accessible for me to go to the sound section on Final Cut and just drag and drop and incorporate it into my trailer. For the production of my ancillary texts, I used Photoshop, the digital manipulation software, to construct my pictures and edit them. A style that may be noticed throughout my magazine is having a drop shadow or glow effect around the cover line images. I thought that this just made them stand out more and also drew attention to them, encouraging the reader to focus on the images and cover lines and what they're actually saying. I simply did this by clicking on the layer, clicking the outer glow box, and then just changing the colour to a white colour so that it gave a glow effect, and then lowering the opacity so that it was subtle but still noticeable. I felt that this also just added something to my magazine, making it look a bit more different to other magazines, and I therefore decided to do that around the box in which the text of the cover lines were featured in. An element of horror iconography I incorporated into my magazine was the crucifix over the letter T in the Revenant masthead. I decided to incorporate this to obviously further the horror genre and to just add something to the masthead. I simply did this by using of the drawing tools the rectangular shape, drawing on a rectangle just above the T, and to make sure that the shape was aligned with the actual letter, I just zoomed in so that I could see exactly where the two are aligned, and then made it slightly bigger. That was how I created the shape. Another technique which I'd used to manipulate the protagonist's face on the main image was by using the liquify tool on an image I'd taken using the Canon 700D camera. By clicking the liquify tool, it opened up a new layer which provided me with a range of more tools which I could use to then pull apart the face, enlarge certain areas, such as I used that particular tool for the eyes and mouth, and with a combination of both pulling apart the face and enlarging certain areas, I managed to manipulate and construct a completely different face. Once I was satisfied with how Talani's face looked after manipulating it. I used the paintbrush tool and selected quite a spray painted look for the brush and just used the colour black and a high opacity to start concealing Talani's eyes and mouth. I used a softer paintbrush to ensure that the colour on Talani's face was not too harsh and to make it look very natural yet scary. This image was not the image I actually used in my magazine or poster. I repeated this process of manipulating Talani's face in different pictures many times until I was finally happy with the one that I wanted to use in my ancillary text. This is the photo I ended up using in my magazine.